"You must be Patricius Kokkinos," Jero added. "I am," her brother replied. "I am known as Patrik, and this is our commander, Salah Nassim. Next to him is Soren, to his right is Bem, and on my left is Jero." They remained tall and still on their horses, each glaring at Jero. A slow cart with 3 local men rode slowly by them, keeping their distance on the far side of the road. Jero nodded to them, and the farmers tipped their hats nervously at the familiar Baric steward. "Do you usually travel alone, Jero?" Patrik asked. He had a deep, accented voice that was both calming and menacing. Surrounded by the group of foreign men, Jero felt a sudden sense of danger. His hand instinctively went to his sword, belted by his side. "There's no need for that, Jero. We are here as invited guests of the Baron, and we will not harm you," Patrik unconvincingly assured him. He stared with the same eyes as the Baroness's. Jero knew how kind she was. There must be some kindness in her brother, too, he thought. "Yes, well, I'm counting on that," Jero replied honestly, and the men smiled for the first time since their encounter. Jero had the urge to be behind the protective walls of his home, so suggested, "Shall we be on our way?" He put on his cap again and nudged the impatient Blaze to continue on. The 5 mercenaries followed Jero to the turnoff. The Baroness had told Jero that her brother and his gang fought against the Ottomans, but he thought they still had the look of their origins, despite the mix of European garments they wore. The Croats lived on the crossroads of many cultures. Their borders had been drawn and redrawn over the centuries. There were no displaced foreigners left in the Baric's barony, but his new companions reminded him of Ottomans he had encountered in other parts of the region. Jero had always thought that a band of soldiers united through one uniform look, like Baron Baric's soldiers' dress when they left together. But each of these men had an independent style. Patrik and Jero both wore high knee boots. Patrik's a bold red, and Jero's a faded brown. The others had shorter heeled riding boots of different heights. They were barely noticeable, though, because they wore loose leggings to their ankles instead of breeches. Their long, varied coats seemed out of place in the hot summer sun, but they were made of linen and broadcloth, more for protection along the trail than for warmth. Each man was clothed in varied colors of blue, gray, black, red, and brown. Only Jero had a broad-brimmed hat. The others wore caps of different shapes and colors perched over their long, bound hair. The Persian had his black hair wrapped with a coarse scarf of crimson red. Despite their intimidating looks, Jero now saw the tiredness in their faces. Even warriors needed rest. They proceeded up the ascending castle road without speaking and stopped in front of the shut gate. Simeon and Edward were at the guard post with crossbows pointed at Jero's unlikely friends. Patrik counted 6 more guards staring down at them atop the impressive ramparts, also armed with muskets and bows. Jero was shocked at the show of aggression from the guardsmen, and he knew the Baron would not approve. "Stand down!" he shouted in disappointment. His sudden order was enough to make the Baric men lower their weapons. Jero added in a voice of authority and frustration, "Open the gate for us. These are the Baroness's visitors you were asked to welcome." The gate began to open.